Hey, speaking of old-timey cameras, want to know something kind of funny? Did you know Kodak is mentioned in Dracula, the novel Dracula? Kodak cameras existed back then. The realtor uh, uh, takes Kodak photos of the mansion that Dracula plans to move into, east of London. It's mentioned in the it's mentioned there. He's like, oh yeah, I took some with my Kodak photos that I'm bringing to Dracula in Transylvania. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like a fake anachronism. Like it feels like it should be out of place, but it's not. Kodak's very old. Yeah, it just doesn't fit. It just feels odd that you would be like, here you go, Dracula. Here are some Kodak photos of the creepy mansion you want to move to in London, you know? It just feels odd, but I think it's cool. I think it's great. Reminds me of one of my favorite. I'm not a big fan of it because it sucks, but Demon Slayer, that era of like is it Sengoku, Japan, where you have electric lights and railroads, but you still had honest to God samurai in the hills? No, Meiji, not Sengoku, Meiji period. Um that's cool as hell. The idea of like being basically being like a 10th century peasant in the hills, and then you go to the city and there's a railroad and electric lights. That's really, really cool to me, you know? Didn't really happen in most of Western Europe because it like industrialized relatively early, like compared to other countries. And in America, all of America basically was kind of like founded off the back of the railroad. Not literally, but like figuratively, right? You had the 13 colonies, but a lot of the westward expansion was, you know, developed off railroads. So you didn't really have that, like, what if we took a 4,000-year-old country and then overnight we electrified it? Lincoln was alive during the time the samurai were, and so were fax machines. The samurai were like a thing until relatively recently. Like Japan, up until firearms became really available in Japan, the highest like military tech level was a samurai. So and it took a while for guns to be widespread enough that that was a thing. So up until that point, it was like, yeah, the highest level fucking unit was a samurai, which is crazy, but you know, was Dracula a real person? No. Samurai love rifles. Yeah. They loved them when they were the only ones who could get their fucking hands on them. Oh, yeah. I bet medieval knights would have loved rifles if they were the only ones who could get a hold on them. The moment the peasantry start to get their hands on them, they're like, I don't know. There was Vlad Dracula, but he wasn't a vampire in real life. Yeah, probably not, because I think vampires are like um made up, I think. Ninjas fucking loved Aquabusier. Yeah, I'm sure. Didn't that happen with crossbows? Yes, the Catholic Church banned people from owning crossbows because it really like leveled the playing field. Before crossbows, a armored knight with a sword wandering into a small village was basically like it was literally it was like, I don't want to spoil it, Disco Elysium. It was like the a hornet making its way into a beehive. Like, will the bees eventually kill it by swarming it and overheating it with their body temperature? Yeah, but in the meantime, the wasp is going to kill everything. Didn't they ban crossbows against Christians specifically? Yeah. Well, effectively against like the knights. Yeah, knighthood. Of course, you could use it against like Saracens or Moors or whatever. Yeah, I'm not saying the Catholic Church imposed rules on killing Muslims. It's yeah. Saracen? Is it Saracens, not Saracens? Really? Saracens? Okay. I didn't know that. Knights are so fucking cool, man. Nah, they were lame. The idea of being that unstoppable in plate armor, it must have been so satisfying. The first guy to invent like Dune style energy fields is going to feel like such a badass the first time they do a school shooting or whatever. Because like right now we're in that weird intermediate period in the development of armor and weapons where no armor works basically. Like even the best bulletproof vests are just covering your chest, and even then if you take a high caliber bullet it'll still break all your ribs. So the first guy to be like, I press this button and I'm immune to all conventional weaponry is going to, they're going to feel like a badass. Did you see the video of Greg Bavino praising Vlad the Impaler for caring enough to kill all the invaders? Yeah, funnily enough, Dracula was saying that shit too. There's like 3 pages of Dracula in Dracula explaining how of all of the niche ethnic groups in Eastern Europe, his was the best, basically, because they killed like everyone. They were My Penguin Classics, like the annotations were going crazy with all of this is a microscopic ethnic group in Eastern Europe in the 1800s. This is a microscopic ethnic group in Eastern Europe in the 1800s. Da da da, over and over and over again. Technically, you can wear enough armor to keep a 50 BMD from penetrating. Yeah. But like again, there's no. But like fire, the weapons technology is completely outpaced armor technology. It has for a while. Drones make it even more imbalanced now. You can like a 50K drone can take out a fucking $20 million tank. It's crazy. Yeah, it's way imbalanced. Okay, eventually someone's gonna invent the Dune shield, and then the slow knife will penetrate the shield, and then the Ukraine war, which will still be going on, will be a bunch of like impoverished 15-year-old Russian conscripts fighting probably impoverished 15-year-old Ukrainian conscripts, and they're all going to be like slowly stabbing each other to death. It'll be great. Patch notes for that war are going to be crazy. Yup. Imagine being the first guy to find out the other side has developed Dune-style energy weapons. That would suck. What are we talking about? Crossbows were weaker than bows and still are. Well, I don't know what you mean by weaker. Like, it depends on the draw weight of the bow or crossbow. But, like, siege crossbows are way the fuck stronger than bows. But it doesn't really matter. Like, even a mid-weight bow can penetrate plate armor. So, yeah. Also, the thing with crossbows wasn't that they were stronger. It was that you could just use them with no training and immediately. Like a crossbow could just be fired like a gun, at least once. Whereas with a bow, you need to you can't, like, if you have a sword and you sneak up on an archer, the archer's kind of fucked unless they're like Legolas or whatever. But if you snuck up on a guy with a crossbow, he could just straight up no scope you, and that sucks. Imagine being the first guy to get no scoped. That would feel awful. The first night to get you've been trained in the art of war since 9. You've been like fighting with wooden swords every day of your life. Your father is like an emotionally distant warrior who's a veteran of 17 different wars. You're trained in the art of the blade and the bow. You have plate armor worth like several villages put together. And then you're going out and you're doing the what is it the samurai did where they tested new blades on random civilians? They were like, does it cut well? And then they just cut down some random fucking peasant. You're about to do that on some guys. One of them flips out and some pimply-faced 16-year-old vagabond turns around and you get one shot by a fucking crossbow bolt. That must have sucked. I feel bad for them for that night. I'd be so mad as a ghost. Oh, my I'd be haunting that crossroads forever. That kid would have felt fucking awesome, though. That is true. The first 16-year-old pimply vagabond to one-shot a night must have felt like a badass, for sure. 100%. Yeah, that was Richard the Lionheart, right? Richard the Lionheart was killed by a crossbow held by a little boy, and he died from it. But before he died, he was like, hey, that boy no-scoped me good. He got my ass good. Don't torture him to death brutally after I die. And then everyone was like, okay. And then they tortured that kid's ass to death as soon as Richard the Lionheart died. They were like, okay, fingers crossed behind your back. And then they put him through a lot, that 9-year-old. That kid's name was Pierre Basile, I think. Imagine getting no-scope by a 9-year-old named Pierre. Oh, fuck. If I was Richard the Lionheart's ghost, I'd be mad as shit. My ass would not be going to heaven. I'd be haunting the earth. Also, I probably wouldn't go to heaven because Richard the Lionheart was, like, really bad. Really bad. But, you know. Pretty sure Lionheart was also French. Yeah, but he was called Richard the Lionheart. And the kid was called Pierre. Wasn't he a mass rapist or something? Not to engage in like historicism or whatever, I am going to assume basically every nobleman and aristocrat and royal from that era was a mass rapist. Like, if you were Richard the Lionheart, you could just rape everybody, right? Like, there was no, like, like, everyone was like Genghis Khan, basically. Well, anyway. Should we, like, move on?